is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Dr. King's dream has not yet been realized, nor will it be unless we have people like Al Sharpton who continue to hammer away at injustices.
National Action Network, they're the voice of the people. The people who, don't have a voice, they provide one for them.
The achievements are both legal, they're political, and I think they're in terms of changing the consciousness of a country.
Whether you agree with Reverend Al Sharpton or not, he's bringing up issues that other people are not talking about.
We're not going to lay down. We're not going to take So we begin today the battle in the streets. No justice!
He was not always listened to. It was felt that he was just a rabble-rouser. He was the fat guy in the warm-up suits.
At the beginning, I used to say, I do not agree with Reverend Sharpton. And what happened was that began to shift over a period of time where, in fact, you recognize that the Sharpton that oftentimes gets written about and spoken about is so far from the real leader that exists.
So whether that's been Yusef Hawkins or Howard Beach or Amadou Diallo or Patrick Dorisman or Abner Louima, when Al Sharpton and the National Action Network get involved in an issue, the likelihood that justice will prevail dramatically increases.
Standing arm in arm, the four young men shot at by New Jersey State Police.
In 1998, we were on our way to North Carolina for basketball tryouts.
We was going down the turnpike and the state troopers were riding with us next to the car looking in.
We were pulled over for no reason at all, and we were fired upon 13 times.
Racial profiling is a crime. Police harassment is a crime.
It sparked one of the biggest racial profiling cases in Jersey State history.
He got the community to actually come up and do this march on the turnpike.
He actually shut down the New Jersey Turnpike, which has never been done before.
And that got the attention of a lot of people throughout the world. And that's when we knew that the world cared.
Amadou Diallo, 41 rounds fired, 19 hit him, and he was standing in his own doorway, had no weapon, committing no crime.
A prayer for Amadou is a prayer for all of us, and a prayer to heal the situation.
He led a civil disobedience effort that was, in many ways, unparalleled.
I don't care who's downtown. If they're killing innocent people uptown or anywhere in town, we're going to be there all over town.
I think it's one of those moments when you can look at the history of the city of New York and say that it was defined by the strength and the character of one leader, Reverend Sharpton.
We are going to the United Nations by the thousands to raise the issue of vehicles.
How amazingly poignant that a man like Reverend Sharpton ends up in a federal penitentiary in Puerto Rico objecting the unfair and immoral bombing of an island because he felt it was the right thing to do.
We went in this jail struggling, and we're going to come out continuing the struggle. They didn't do anything but give me a recharge of my batteries.
November 25th, 2006, my fiance, Sean Bell, was killed by police officers. When you have tragedies like what happened to my family, who else do you have to turn to?
You recklessly caused serious physical injury by means of a deadly weapon.
One of the most important things that a civil rights leader can do is turn activism into legislative action.
No matter who is the police and no matter who the victim, we want one standard of justice.
We actually got the state of New Jersey to admit racial profiling.
The law has changed as far as the state troopers having cameras placed in their cruisers now.
I think it was definitely one of those cases that unfortunately needed to happen to take civil rights to that next step.
We did receive some type of justice. We received social justice. National Action Network were able to come in and tell our story They shined a light on the tragedy. They shined a light on the case, and that brought worldwide attention.
I am Sean Bell. We all are Sean Bell.
His decisions to champion social justice are not a function of geography, ethnicity, color, but are really a function of what I would call his moral standing as to how he views the world.
And so the mission has been successful, but it's still incomplete. Because until we can legitimately say that every single American has a fair shot at the American dream, then there's still tremendous work to be done.
We need education policies that will close the gap.
We don't own this planet. We hold it in trust for our children. And our children can learn just like other kids.
I agree with Al Sharpton. This is the #1 civil right of the 21st century.
I think you've got to go beyond your comfort zone because what we have been doing has not worked.
He cares just as much as I care about making sure every child learns to read, write, and add and subtract. And I want to thank you for your leadership on this issue.
If we don't stop and say, wait a minute, administrators, principals, teachers, we all have got to be held accountable on why these schools are not working.
Each generation should be able to build on the one before.
We do have to figure out how to engage this generation of young people.
I hope you understand the value that you have and the power you have.
I realized how community can come together as a family and stand up for each other. Sometimes you don't realize what you have or until it's time to use it.
The promise of America is that we stand for human rights. The promise of America is one immigration policy for all who seek to enter our shore.
Immigration is a huge issue now. That's another civil rights issue. This country wants to benefit from the skills and the labor of the immigrant population, but they don't want to provide the rights and privileges that they think they deserve.
Now, what an amazing place for the civil rights movement to do some new work.
As you climb up steep mountains, sometimes you scar your knee, sometimes you break your skin, but don't focus on the scars, focus on the journey.
The groundbreaking things that he's doing is not for fame, it's not for glory, it's for right.
He started out in track suits, now he wears business suits. But the outfit doesn't matter